Hello. I am here with my dear friend Judy Leoto. Judy and I share the same last name, and that is by virtue of me having been married to your nephew. And even though I am not married to him anymore, I got the prize of you as my lifelong friend from that point. So, yay for me.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so
That's sweet.
Judy, you are the author of two memoirs, Sunlight on My Shadow and South of Ordinary.
Mhm.
So I wanted to have a conversation with you today because you and I have been with each other through a long writing journey. And I just want to really pick your brain about what you've learned along the way and what it's been like to publish two memoirs. And so ready to dive in and we'll just pick your brain for some tips and tricks and all
Well,
your
that's
wisdom.
great. Let me get a sip of my coffee because
Well,
it's coffee with Jude. You call me Judy, but I like to go by Jude because it reminds me of when I was a little kid and everybody called me Jude. And so,
Oh,
like here where I live in Quail Creek, everybody's name is Judy because we're all old. So I'm asking people to call me Jude. So
oh,
I
that's
like
cute. Yeah, and I'll just let everybody know right out of the gate. They can find you on YouTube at Coffee with Jude and on Substack at Coffee with Jude.
exactly right. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Okay, so I want to dive in. I would love to hear just kind of like your origin story with writing. Like when did you first feel drawn to writing and memoir specifically? Like, how did you get into all of this?
Well, back in 2000, I was just moved to Minneapolis. I was recently divorced. And I picked up The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron's book, and I read that and I got inspired to do morning pages. So I started writing in my journal every day, pretty much, and have done that ever since. But, as I was writing, I was thinking, someday I want to write a book, but I didn't really know what it was about or what the book would be. Then around, I think it was 2012, I was nudged to write my teenage pregnancy story. And so I just started writing it in the middle. And I cried as I wrote. And then I would read it the next day. And I thought, I can never let anyone read this.
Mm.
It's just, I was so full of shame and grief. So I'd put it aside and I wouldn't work on it. And then pretty soon I got nudged again to keep writing. And so I think my body or my soul knew that this was good for me to be exposing the secret because of all the damage that was done of keeping a secret. And so
Mm,
kind of called grace that got
yeah.
me going to write.
Hmm. Can you talk a little bit more about that emotional journey of writing through, not really setting out to write a memoir when you started writing, and yet
Hmm.
like the emotional journey of really diving back into very difficult memories and a lot of shame, and then actually like what did that do for you to step back into those memories?
Well, people would say to me, that had to be so hard to write that because it was so painful, but it wasn't hard at all. It was just energy or spiritual connection when I would be writing, remembering those memories.
The one thing I'm thinking about is in that memoir, you do talk, and it's your experience, but you do have to talk about your family and the family dynamics that were going on and the secret and how the secret was kept. And I'm just curious, as you were writing about it, did you have a lot of fears about, oh no, like my siblings are going to read this? How did you deal with all of that? Because you really were processing a lot of past shame.
Yes, yes. My big fear, well, first of all, my mom and dad were dead. So I don't even think I could have written the story if they were still alive because I never, ever spoke a word of my experience after I came back from the home for unwed mothers and had my baby. Never spoke a word to them about it. So with them being gone, that freed me a bit. But I did worry about that. I thought, I'm sure my brothers and my sister are gonna think, what is she digging up all this old stuff for? I felt judgment, but I still was compelled to write it. So I didn't make that hold me back.
Mhm.
And then when they finally read the story, it was incredible because all of them said, "Oh my gosh, Judy, I had no idea you went through that. And I wish I could have been there by your side when that was going on." And so it was so satisfying. And, I just felt a lot of love from them. And
Mm.
so the fear was unfounded. It didn't pan out. There were some times when my brother Jeff said, "Well, that didn't really happen." And I'm like, "Well, I think it did." It was about my dad having congestive heart failure. He said,
Mm.
"He never had that." And I'm like, "Well, that's what he told me when I went down to Florida." So everybody has their own memories, and it's not like he has the truth and I don't, or vice versa, but we all, as we shape our memories from the past, they can be different. They can be our own memories, and they're true to us. As long as they're true to us when you're writing your memoir, then that's good, good enough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. At what point in your writing process did you realize, I think I have a book here. I think I'm going to tell this whole story, like publicly.
Oh, gee, I have no idea at what point that was. I just had so much momentum going
Mm.
once I started writing.
Mhm.
I just wanted to write more. And what I would do is I'd write something, and then the next day I would read what I wrote. And then that would kind of be the catalyst to write some more. And,
Mhm.
and I'd edit it as I went along.
Mhm.
And then I'd think, "Oh, I think I need to add this part, or I need to add this story because they're not going to know what I'm talking about." And
Mhm.
so it was just the process of building it, the give and take of reading the story and understanding it, that helped me to get a book. It was so jumbled up at first, and I actually think I threw away 50% of it. When I first started, I thought, I have no memories of this, because it wasn't something that I ever revisited because it was so painful. And so I thought, how am I going to write a book about my teen pregnancy when I can't remember anything? And so I would just start talking about when I was 5 years old, I was riding my bike and the streamers were flapping, and I ran into my friend on the block, and I had all these little ditties uh,
Uh-huh.
to fill it up. And I thought, then finally, one of my writing teachers said, "You have to have a theme and you got to stick with that." So anyway, I threw out all those things that didn't really have to do with the theme of the teen pregnancy. I was trying to fill it up, but
Yeah, yeah,
didn't
yeah.
need to, because the more I wrote, the more I did remember. It was like watering a vine that was withered. And
Ooh,
it was amazing how when you tap those areas in your brain, you can remember so much of the smells and the sounds. And
that is such a good tip. The kind of the more you do it, the more you activate your memory, you know?
yeah, yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah.
I know that you're not really a fan of outlines in general. I think you've said on your coffee with Jude. And 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 so I'm curious if you didn't really even realize as you were starting to revisit your memories about your teen pregnancy, you weren't really aware that you were going to turn that into a book at first. And
Hmm.
so you probably did have a lot of like kind of just random memories. But how did you learn then how to take it and create a story arc, focus in on a theme? Like, had you already been taking writing classes? Where did you start taking writing classes because you realized, oh, I think I've got something here? Like, tell us a little bit about how you became a writer, like.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one class I took at the Loft Literary Center in
Mhm.
Minneapolis with Elizabeth Jared Andrew on story structure
Mm, mhm,
really was helpful to me. She taught us like all the different ways you could structure your book. Chronological is the most easy
mhm,
and straightforward. And I picked chronological because it was easiest for me and I could understand. And so that was what gave me the structure to pull all these pieces together.
mhm. Yeah, because I know a lot of the memoir writers that I work with, they're never quite sure, like, where do I start? How do I
Mhm.
start this story? And I'm with you. It's like if you're not sure where to start and but you're ready to get going, just start with the beginning. Just give yourself that as an easy starting point. And then I also recommend just hone in on the key memories, like that are really like the pivotal memories within the story you're trying to tell.